Having anything to do before the Honorable the Justice E. Susan Gosh of the Superior Court, now sitting at Fall River, within and for the Commonwealth. Draw near, give your attendance, and you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Court is now in session. Be seated, please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Today is Thursday, March 19th, 2015. The case on trial is Commonwealth v. Aaron Hernandez, indictment BRCR 2013-0983. The Honorable E. Susan Garsh presiding.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Have any of you seen or heard or read or overheard anything at all about this case or Mr. Hernandez since I last inquired? There are no firm responses. Have any of you discussed this case or Mr. Hernandez with anyone at all since I last inquired? There are no firm responses. And have any of you had any difficulty following any of my instructions not to talk about or otherwise communicate in any fashion about or listen to or do any research about this case, anything you think could be relevant to the case or Mr. Hernandez? There are no firm responses. The witness may resume the stand.
Right this way, sir.
Mr. Bennett, I remind you that you're still under oath. Do you understand that, sir?
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
For the record, that's Exhibit 237B. Okay, put on the screen. Sir, that is the footwear impression at Placard 2, right?
It's one of the photos, yes.
Okay, but that's the impression at Placard 2, right?
Yes.
Okay. Have you changed your opinion about that impression between yesterday and today, sir?
No.
Okay. Now, when we left off yesterday, we were talking about your reanalysis of that impression, Placard 2, on November 25th, 2014, right?
Yes.
Okay. And would you agree with me that well, number one, that photograph hadn't changed since March, right?
No.
Okay. And that's a photograph of a partial footwear impression, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And it contains limited detail, right?
Yes.
Okay. And on November 25th, notwithstanding your prior opinion about that impression, you compared it to several shoes that were provided to you by state troopers, right?
Yes.
Okay. And are you telling us that what was new in November was that you were given shoes in November but not in March?
Yes.
Okay. Now, one pair of shoes that you compared Placard 2 with in November were the shoes that Odin Lloyd was wearing on June 17th, 2013, right?
They were already into evidence, but yes.
That is one of the comparisons that you made in November 25th, right?
Yes.
Okay. And as you said, those shoes were already in evidence, right?
They were.
Those shoes were obtained by the state police on June 17th, 2013, more than almost a year and a half earlier, right?
Correct.
Okay. So you could have compared Odin Lloyd shoes to Placard 2 back in March, couldn't you?
Yes,
Okay. Except that back in March, you found that there was insufficient quality and quantity of detail in that impression to make any further comparisons, right?
with the fact that there were herringbone patterns in there that I was able to eliminate some shoes.
Right, but the Odin Lloyd shoes that were seized on June 17, 2013 had a herringbone pattern, right?
In the front, in the heel of the shoe, that is correct.
Right. So you were not able to do an exclusion of that one based on the absence of a herringbone pattern, were you?
Not at that time.
Okay. So, in fact, you didn't do that comparison in March at all, right?
I did not.
But you could have, right?
Yes.
Do you have your file up there with you, Lieutenant?
I do, Counsel.
Okay. And am I correct that you made a transparency of the left shoe of Odin Lloyd on November 25th, 2014?
Both left and right, yes,
made
it
it
was on
transparent.
November 25th, yeah.
Okay. Do you have that transparency with you, sir?
I do not.
Well, isn't that part of your file?
My file is 6 3-ring binders, Counselor. I've minimized it to reports and notes. There's no way I could bring it all
right.
up here.
Let me show you something. Show you something, sir. Is that the transparency that you made of Odin Lloyd's left sneaker in November 2014?
Yes, sir.
I'd offer this as the next exhibit.
No objection.
Will be marked as the next exhibit.
This is 382. That's the left shoe, the outsole, of the shoes that Odin Lloyd was wearing, right?
Yes, Counselor.
Okay. Back to 237B. That's placard 2 impressions, right?
Correct.
Now, am I correct, sir, that you concluded on November 25th that Odin Lloyd's left shoe, the shoe in that transparency, did not make the impression at placard 2?
That is correct.
That was your conclusion, right?
That is my opinion, yes.
Okay. And your part of your protocol or the process that you use to do comparisons, it goes by the acronym ACE-V, right?
That is correct.
Okay. And what does the V stand for?
Verification.
Okay. And you did a worksheet that reflected your findings with respect to comparing Mr. Lloyd's shoe to placard 2, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Who verified your opinion with respect to Mr. Lloyd's shoe, sir?
No one.
Now, By the way, did you find any footwear impressions at the scene at all that could have been made by Odin Lloyd?
No.
Do you think you may have missed some?
No.
Now, when you did your analysis of Placard 2 on November 25th, you didn't make any determination that that impression was made by a size 13 shoe, did you, sir?
On November 25th?
Yes.
No.
You still can't say that that impression was made by a size 13 shoe, can you?
It is consistent.
That's not what I asked you, sir. Can you say that that impression, can you tell the members of this jury under oath that that impression, Placard 2, was made by a size 13 shoe?
No.
And by the way, sir, when you measure, when you photograph an impression according to your protocols, you have to put that scale or that ruler on there, right?
Correct.
Okay. And under swig tread protocols, am I correct that that ruler should be placed, when you have a three-dimensional impression, that ruler should be placed at the bottom of the impression?
Closest to the bottom as possible, that's correct.
Well, take a look at that exhibit. That ruler is not at the bottom of the impression, is it?
It's probably about a half-inch above.
It's lying on the top of the ground, right?
That's correct, Counsel.
That's not the way you're supposed to do it, is it, sir?
It should be at the plane of the footwear impression, yes.
Should be where?
The plane of the footwear impression.
The bottom, right?
Well, being a three-dimensional
Being
object,
three-dimensional, sir, should be at the bottom, isn't that correct?
Me.
there are different depths within the impression. So it should be not, swig tread doesn't talk about the very bottom. They talk about the plane of the footwear impression. There has to be an estimate. Where is the lowest part? There are higher parts. You're trying to record all of those areas through the photograph. So it's more of an average of the depth of the footwear impression.
Okay. You're saying that it should be at the average depth of the three-dimensional impression?
Correct. If you could determine that it was all at the same depth, absolutely, I would agree with you, Counselor, it should be at the bottom. If some areas are raised, some areas are lower, you're going to have to average that out. You can't have that scale to be at every feature of that footwear impression be at that lowest possible point.
Well, it's not supposed to be lying on top of the ground, is it, sir?
No.
Is it lying on top of the ground in that photograph, sir?
It appears so.
So, am I correct, sir, that even though you can't tell us that that impression was made with a size 13 shoe, the state police investigators brought you a size 13 Nike shoe on November 25th and gave it to you to compare to Placard 2, right?
That would be accurate.
Okay. And you know exactly why they brought you a size 13 shoe, don't you, sir?
I have a good suspicion.
They brought you a size 13 shoe because they believe that Aaron Hernandez was wearing a size 13 shoe, and they were trying to link Placard 2 to my client, Aaron Hernandez. Isn't that right?
Yes.
So you compared placard 2 to the size 13 outsole, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you told us yesterday that on November 25th, 2014, you found that there was a similarity in manufacturing design and relative physical size between the two, right?
That is correct.
Okay. And relative physical size doesn't mean exact size, does it, sir?
Physical size does not equal shoe size. That is correct.
And similarity in manufacturing design, that's what you call a class similarity, right?
Correct.
Okay. And that's the weakest form of association possible in the footwear comparison business, isn't it, sir?
Being there's two results, it is the lesser of the two.
Well, there are millions and millions of pairs of shoes made with a similar manufacturing design, aren't there, sir?
To the Air Jordan tread design?
You referred to a similar manufacturing design. That was your finding, right?
Right.
Would you agree with me that there are millions and millions of pairs of shoes in the world made with a similar manufacturing design?
My understanding, there's been over 3 million Air Jordan outsoles produced.
Okay. And aside from those 3 million, you don't know how many other shoes made by other manufacturers have a similar manufacturing design, do you, sir?
Being that I haven't seen any others, that is correct.
You don't know whether there are any others, and if so, how many there are, right?
I would agree.
Now, there are databases that you have access to that contain thousands of outsole patterns, right? Yes or no, sir?
Yes.
Okay. One of those databases is known as Sidecar 6, right?
Yes.
And that's a database with thousands and thousands of outsole patterns, right?
Yes.
Okay. And another one is called Soulmate. That's got more than 28,000 outsole patterns, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, did you ever bother to check impression placard 2 against any of those outsole databases?
No.
Now, am I correct that you did some more work on this case on December 8th of last year?
Early December-ish.
Oh, okay, well, let's see. We look, maybe you did the work on December 4th and your report was written on December 8th?
That would be correct.
Okay. So on December 4th, Assistant District Attorney McCauley asked you to do some more examinations, right?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. McCauley told you on December 4th, did he not, that there was new information about photos of footwear impressions taken by the North Attleboro Police Department at the scene on June 17th, 2013. You recall he told you that, sir?
Yes.
Okay. And the photos he was referring to, those were the photographs, set of photographs taken by North Attleboro Detective Daniel Arrighi, right?
That is my understanding, yes.
Okay. And those photos have been around since June 17th, 2013, right?
The photos of the footwear impressions, yes.
The set of photos that Detective Arrighi took at the scene on June 17th have been around since that date, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you had never bothered to look at them before, had you?
Object, Your Honor. sustained. Can I call the question?
Had you ever looked at those photographs before, Lieutenant?
In an overall version, yes.
In an overall version, what does that mean, please?
That would mean that I had a photograph that had a number of footwear impressions. They were shown yesterday, and there were 4 or 5 impressions within these, but I never looked up, and improved them to a point where I could look at them close up.
Okay.
So I cropped them and looked at them later.
Fair enough. So you had seen the photographs before,
I had seen the photographs.
but you hadn't carefully examined them. Is that fair?
That is correct.
Okay. So if those photographs have been around since June 17th of 2013, and now it was a year and a half later, December 4th of 2014, what was this new information?
The new information was, my understanding was, there was a more complete set of known shoes to be submitted to me.
Okay. And by known shoes, you mean photographs of shoes of witnesses and first responders who were there that night?
Correct.
Okay. Am I correct that on December 4th, 2014, Assistant District Attorney McCauley asked you to examine Detective Arrighi's photographs, try to identify any footwear impressions in those photographs, and then compare those footwear impressions in those photographs to the known footwear of the first responders?
Yes.
Okay. So you looked at the Arrighi photos, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you look at all 48 of them? Exhibits 99A through 99V, double V for the record.
I have seen all of, I believe, of what is Detective Arrighi's photos. I have a disc.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And pursuant to Mr. McCauley's request, did you try to identify any and all footwear impressions in those photographs?
I did.
Okay. And you found some in photographs numbered, I think, 10, 11, 13, and 14. Is that right?
I believe those were the numbers, yes.
Those are the ones you testified about on direct examination yesterday, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you didn't find any others?
No, I didn't see any other pictures that depicted footwear in Detective Arrighi's CD, no.
Okay. But you looked, right?
I've seen all of his pictures, yes.
And you looked for footwear impressions, right?
Yes, and those are the pictures I found that depicted footwear impressions, yes.
Those were the only pictures you found?
The only ones I found, yes.
If I could ask Mr. Rankin to assist me, please, Sharon. Putting on the screen Exhibit 99I, which is part of that set of Arrighi photos. I'm going to ask Mr. Rankin to zoom in on a portion of that exhibit because he's better at it than I am. So in the upper left-hand corner of that exhibit, sir.
Yes.
Point to it.
Yeah, I see.
Right there.
Yes, sir.
You see a footwear impression right there, sir?
I'm not really sure I do. I see a set of lines.
Yeah. You see a set of lines.
I honestly don't know if that's a footwear impression with what I'm seeing here. I see 1, 2, 3 lines. I'm not sure that's a footwear impression, Counsel.
Okay. You don't know whether that's a footwear impression or not? Is that your testimony?
I don't think it is.
Okay. Let me show you another photograph. 99V, another one of those Riggy photographs. This is a photograph, let's look at the big one, let's look at it first. Would you agree with me, sir, that this photograph is taken right next to the body of Odin?
Yes.
Okay. And I'd ask Mr. Rankin again to assist me by zooming in on a portion of this photograph. Drawing your attention to where I'm pointing. My finger's too big. Upper left-hand corner, right where Mr. Rankin's
I
fingernail is.
think I see where you're referring to.
All right, okay, Mr. Rankin, move his finger, please. Just to the right of that, actually. You see what appears to be a footprint impression, sir.
Am I pointing to the right spot, Counselor, here? I would...
Yes. Is that a footprint, I'm sorry, is that a footprint impression, sir?
I would say it is, and I have...
You would say it is not a footprint
I
impression?
see one, which is some type of curved line, but I can't tell you it's not even part of the landscape. I don't...
Further to the left. All the way in the left-hand
Oh,
corner.
here?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
How about right there? Is that a footwear impression?
I would be unable to determine that. That's...
Based on your training, the 3-day class that you attended in 2006, you can't tell us, sir, if that is a footwear impression? Is that your testimony?
That is my testimony.
Okay. Now, these photographs that were taken by Detective Arrighi contain a number of footwear impressions that you did recognize, right?
Yes.
Okay. But those photographs, they weren't taken with a tripod or a quadrupod, were they?
No, they weren't.
They weren't taken with proper lighting for examination quality photographs, right?
I don't think the light was a real issue, Counselor. It was still daylight. They were visible. But in comparative photos, as I testified yesterday, we would prefer a flash be used in 4 directions when you're taking a photo. So the answer is no.
And they weren't taken at that, 90-degree angle you said they're supposed to be taken at?
No, they were not.
And there was no ruler in those photographs that you could use for comparison purposes, was there?
For size, there was no scale.
Okay. So, am I correct, sir, that those Arrighi photographs that you used to make some comparisons in December of 2014, those are totally unacceptable for comparison by a professional footwear examiner, aren't they?
That's not correct. Manufacturing and design could be determined, and I was able to. However, size would never be able to be determined from those photographs.
All right. So you're saying that even though none of the protocols for taking footwear impression photographs were followed, they were still okay for you to use. Is that what you're telling us?
They are acceptable to make determinations as far as manufacturing and design. Again, you'll never make determination of size or any individuality between those photos.
Okay. Now, would you agree with me, sir, that Dwayne Hildebrand is a recognized authority in the field of footwear impression analysis?
Yes.
In fact, you took your 3-day course from him in 2006, right?
I did.
Okay. And would you agree with Mr. Hildebrand that test impressions are a necessity to a good and competent footwear examination? Preparing good test impressions using the known shoes is a vital part of the comparison process. Do you agree with that?
I would agree it is preferable at all costs to have the actual footwear. However, there are times we do not have it.
Okay, well, when you did your comparisons with the responder shoes in December, you didn't make any transparencies or test impressions of any of those shoes, did you?
I was unable. I did not have shoes.
In fact, you didn't have any of the shoes, did you?
I didn't.
Did you ask for them?
I did.
And did you get them?
I did not.
And you asked for them because you knew that it was proper to take test impressions, right?
It is preferable.
And that's why you wanted the shoes, right?
Yes,
But you didn't get them, did you?
I did not.
Now, I think you told us on direct examination, sir, that you had photographs of the footwear of about 20 first responders and witnesses, right?
Approximately, yes.
Okay. You told us that there was a log kept of the people who were entering the scene that night?
I had to log in, yes.
Okay. Sir, I'm showing you Exhibit 73. Do you recognize that as the log of people who were there that night, which of course lists you as somebody who came?
Yes, it does appear so.
Okay. And can you just quickly, please, just count for us the number of people, number of law enforcement responders listed, number of people listed on that log?
I see 33.
Thank you. So, there were 33 people listed on that log, right?
On that list, yes.
Okay. But you didn't have photographs of the footwear of 33 pairs of shoes, did you?
As I said, it's approximately 20. I'd have to count the photos. I have never taken a complete count because some of them are duplicate photos. It's a little hard to determine. It
Okay.
could be 25, but I'd estimate 20, 25.
Okay. Not 33.
There was not 33, no.
Okay. And you've got your notes up there in case you need to refer to them, right?
I do.
Okay. Can you check your notes, please, and tell us if you were given the photographs of the shoes of Trooper Benson?
I can tell you, I did not see his, no.
Okay. I'll leave the log with you.
Well, thanks, Counsel.
Would you agree with me that Trooper Benson is listed on the log as somebody who responded to the scene that night?
Yes, at 8:29 p.m.
Okay. What about, you said yesterday that one of the people who helped you there was Trooper Lombard, right?
Correct.
Okay, so he was at the scene, right?
Correct.
Did you get Trooper Lombard's shoes?
No.
What about Trooper Shervin? He was at the scene, right?
He was,
Did you get his shoes?
at 8:29 also. No, I did not.
Okay. What about Ms. Frederick, Alana Frederick from the crime lab? Was she there that night?
She was.
Did you
She
get
was
her
listed
shoes?
at 9:24 p.m.
Well, I appreciate your adding the times. Thank you.
Oh,
Did you
I'm
get-
sorry, Counsel.
Did you get her shoes?
I did not.
What about your shoes, Lieutenant? Did you get a photograph of your shoes?
No.
You could have made a test impression of your own shoes, right?
I didn't see any need to do that.
Now, see if I can find the chart that was introduced yesterday. Sorry, I forget the number. Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. Could I have a moment, Your Honor,
Me.
please? Your Honor, while we're waiting, can we just approach for a second?
Me.
Something else, right? Lieutenant, I'm going to put on the screen, this is part of, this is one of the, recognize this is one of the footprints, or shoe impression prints, in one of Detective O'Riggy's photos that you testified about yesterday, direct image.
Yes.
Okay. And this is part of the this was part of the presentation you put together, right?
That is correct.
Okay. And am I correct that yesterday you told us that in your opinion, that print, 6-2.7, was made by either Officer Grimm or Officer Zimmer? Was that your testimony?
It was consistent in manufacturing design with those shoes submitted, yes.
Well, didn't you tell us yesterday that in your opinion, that print was made by Grimm or Zimmer?
If I said that, that's not true. It's consistent with manufacturing and design to the submitted shoes.
So if you did say yesterday that this print was made by Grimm or Zimmer, you misspoke.
I did.
Okay. Now, Trooper Benson came back to you again, some more exams he wanted you to do right before Christmas, right?
Yes.
Okay. That was on December 23rd? Does that sound right?
On or around there. Might be December 22nd, not sure. One
All
or two.
And this time, Trooper Benson brought you 3 pairs of shoes, right?
Yes.
Okay. And one of the 3 pairs of shoes that Trooper Benson brought you, you're right, December 22nd. One of the 3 pairs of shoes that Trooper Benson brought you on December 22nd was a pair of Nike Air Jordan Retro, size 13, right?
Yeah. Retro 11s, yes.
Retro 11s, size 13, right?
Yes.
Not 12 and a half, right?
No.
Not 13 and a half,
No.
13, right?
Yes.
Okay. And again, you had a pretty good idea why he was bringing you size 13, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that's because Trooper Benson believes that that was Aaron Hernandez's shoe size, and he was trying to link Aaron Hernandez to that Placard 2 print, right?
Objection is sustained.
Well, was it your understanding that that's what he wanted you to help him do, sir?
Overrule.
My understanding was he wanted me to examine these shoes and make a comparison to the footwear impression at Placard 2.
Okay. And you made a transparency of those shoes, right?
Yes.
And you made a foam, you made a foam impression of those shoes, right?
Actually, those are 2 different shoes. I did both shoes. The ones that came in November, the Jordan Futures.
You made a foam impression of the...
Excuse me, Your Honor, just as the witness had indicated, those are fragile. You hold them, moving them around can disrupt them. I just ask they be handled with care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You made a fragile foam impression of the size 13 shoes that you were brought in November, right?
Correct, the Jordan Futures. Yes.
Right. And then you made another fragile foam impression of the shoe that Trooper Benson brought you, the retro, on December 22nd, right?
Yes, Counselor.
Okay. But you couldn't do anything to add to the detail on the Placard 2 photograph, could you?
No.
Because that photograph was the same as it was in March, right?
It was.
But as you just told us, at Trooper Benson's request, you compared that Placard 2 Mr. McCauley, you want to say something? Am I correct, sir, that at Trooper Benson's request, you compared Placard 2 impression to the retro size 13 outsole?
Objection.
Overall.
Yes.
Okay. And you told us that, in your opinion, both were similar in manufacturing, design, and relative physical size, right?
Yes.
Okay. And similar in manufacturing design, that's, again, a class similarity, right?
Yes.
Millions of other outsoles are in that same class, right?
Yes.
And you told us that relative physical size does not mean shoe size, right?
That is correct.
And there are millions of other outsoles that are similar in relative physical size, right?
Yes.
And just within the last week, you were asked to do some more examinations in this case, right?
Yes.
Okay. And who asked you to do those examinations?
Mr. McCauley.
So within the last week, you were asked to examine did someone deliver you some shoes?
Yes.
Okay. A state trooper brought you some shoes, or you got them yourself?
I got them myself.
Okay. So you went to the store and bought some shoes?
Correct.
Okay. And you bought a pair of size 12 shoes, right?
Yes.
And you bought a pair of size 11 shoes, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you buy a pair of 11 and a half?
No.
Did you buy a pair of 12 and a half?
No.
Did you buy a pair of 13 and a half?
No.
Did you buy a pair of 14?
No.
Who told you which sizes to buy?
No one.
You chose the sizes?
I did.
Would you agree with me that the difference in an outsole pattern between, say, a size 13 shoe and a size 13 and a half shoe is roughly 1/8 of an inch?
No, it would be a 1/6 of an inch, Counsel.
One what?
1/6.
1/6 of an inch, okay?
Correct.
And the same as the difference between a 12 and a half and a 13.
That would be correct.
1/6 of an inch, right?
A full size is a third. Half size is a sixth.
Okay. Would you agree with me, sir, that when you're trying to compare footprint impressions, a sixth of an inch can be a significant amount.
A significant amount?
Yes, sir.
I don't think I'd agree to that.
Okay.
A sixth
Well,
of-
it can be the difference between one size and another size, right?
It can mean the difference of a half a size, that's correct.
A half, well, do you know that Nikes with this outsole are sold in half sizes, sir?
Certainly.
So with this particular outsole, a sixth of an inch is a difference between a size 13 and a size 13 and a half, right?
It is.
Okay. Now, did you make a transparency of that size 12 shoe you bought last week?
I did.
Where is it?
I do not have it with me. It is in my car.
It's in your car, okay. Well, if you are still on the stand at the 11 o'clock break, would you be willing to get it out of your car and bring it into the courtroom, sir?
I'd be glad to.
Okay, thank you. Now, you told us yesterday, sir, that outside information can affect the testing, the results of a forensic test, right?
In a perfect world, it shouldn't, but it could.
And that's
In
because
theory.
we don't live in a perfect world, right?
We do not, and in theory, it could.
And in a perfect world, there wouldn't be any outside pressure on forensic examiners, would there?
In a perfect world, sure.
But we don't live in a perfect world, right?
I don't think we do.
And after Trooper Benson came to you on November 20th and told you what he believed, you changed your opinion about Placard 2, didn't you?
Not until I did an examination, no.
And that was after Trooper Benson spoke to you on November 20th, right?
That would be accurate.
And you understood, did you not, sir, that in changing your opinion about Placard 2 impression, you were providing assistance to the prosecution in this case?
Yes.
But, sir, you can't tell us if Aaron Hernandez made that impression at Placard 2, can you?
No.
And you can't even tell us if that particular outsole made that impression at Placard 2, can you?
The one that was brought to me first?
Yes, sir.
Sure.
You can't tell us that that outsole made that impression, can you?
Well, I actually could tell you it doesn't. I know that shoe was just bought.
Well, you can't tell us, sir. Do you think this is funny, sir?
I object, Your Honor. I don't see this day. Objection sustained.
You can't tell us, sir, can you, that that outsole pattern made that impression at placard 2. Can you, sir?
No.
Thank you, Lieutenant. I have no further questions.
We're going to take a recess at this time instead of 11, and let the witness go to his car and retrieve the item. And I don't intend to take another recess at 11. So, again, keep your mind suspended and don't discuss the case among yourselves with anyone else.